Welcome back to another episode of the Amateur Hour podcast. Jack is with me today again.
Hello.
And Nico has returned once again.
How you guys doing?
And we're going to be talking about Taylor Hall today. Apparently, he is on the trade block, and we're going to be talking about potential suitors who should go and trade for him and who we think should be the ones that trade for him. And I'll get going right away. The favorites to land him right now is the Montreal Canadiens. I think they would be a great suitor for Taylor Hall. There is like a little bit of scoring problems. Like Thomas Tatar is your leading the points with 22 right now, I believe, or something like that. And Taylor Hall's got 21 for the New Jersey Devils, who have seriously underperformed this year. Like, let me see where they're at in the division. They are
pretty sure they're last place.
They're last in the Metro with only 22 points, with a minus 25 goal difference. A goal difference that is only worsened by the Detroit Red Wings, who have a minus 53 goal difference.
We're horrible.
But the New Jersey Devils have been underwhelming, to say the least. And Montreal, I think, is a team that really need to capitalize right now on the talent they have. Shea Weber's getting up there. Carey Price is getting up there. So I think you really need to go for it right now. Maybe trade a prospect, go for like a first. It's got to be a first-round pick for Taylor Hall.
It's got to be a first-round pick for sure.
First-round pick, maybe a prospect like maybe like a Cole Caulfield maybe. But
ooh, I don't think they'll give a Cole.
I don't know if they'll go that deep.
That's a high price to ask.
That is a high price. But something like that, like a prospect and a first. I think it's what it's got to be. And I think Montreal could definitely throw him on maybe the second. You could throw him on the second line. Get him with Max Domi and Nick Suzuki. I think that would be a pretty good second line to have. I mean, that'd be a very good second line.
I think Taylor Hall could get the best out of Jonathan Drouin. I think that's probably where he'd fit best.
That's a good point.
I mean, Jonathan Drouin's injured right now, so that's a big reason. Not that they're doing bad. I don't think
they've lost 7 in a row.
They're winning right now. As for the time that we're recording this, they're winning.
Are they?
We'll see. They're playing Boston. They'll probably lose. Yeah.
We can update as we go.
We'll update as we go.
We'll keep you updated.
But I think the reason why I think Montreal is a really good suitor for Taylor Hall is, one, they showed last year that they're just that team that is on the brick of making the playoffs. They're potentially a wild card seed.
You and me had them in a wild card spot.
We did have them in wild card spot. And honestly, they just lacked elite talent up front for many years now. I can't remember the last time I could actually say they had an elite forward. Maybe if you considered Radulov, that would be the most recent one.
Bit of a stretch.
And that's what I'm saying. Because Max Domi is more of a one-season wonder right now at Montreal. He hasn't been putting up the same numbers this year. Bringing in Taylor Hall would be huge for them. And I think if they really want to make a push, they have to do it now while Shea Weber is at a point where his contract doesn't look bad. You have Carey Price on $10 million. Like, he's not going to be young forever. You know what I mean? I'm pretty sure Carey Price is like 32 years old right now, too.
He's not young.
Yeah.
Carey Price is 32 years old.
Yeah, so it's just
Shea Weber is 34.
Exactly. So if you're going to make a push, you're going to make it now. And another thing that's appealing about them going for Taylor Hall is that I feel like they have a market that can entice Taylor Hall to stay in the offseason as well. So it could be one of those things that you trade for him and he might like the city. I know a lot of people that do end up going to Montreal always talk about how nice the city is and how much they enjoy playing in Montreal. So if they could just give him that and get him into the playoffs, I think they'd actually have a pretty good chance of re-signing him as well.
Jack, do you have any teams you think Taylor Hall would be a good suitor for?
This might come as a little surprise, but Colorado Avalanche. And I think he would
I
fit
agree with
in
Colorado.
very nicely on that first line with... We always talk about McKinnon and Rantanen being such a good pair.
Yep.
If you throw Taylor Hall in that line as well...
That'd be scary.
Oh my goodness. Do you think they'd stock up their first line with him? I feel like
maybe not.
I feel like they put him with Kadri maybe on the second line, just to like that 1-2 punch. Like, you deal with McKinnon and Rantanen, and all of a sudden you gotta deal with Taylor Hall on the second line. I feel like that's where he
think of that power play unit though, or they need to go score like McKinnon, Rantanen, Hall all on the ice. That is
Kale McCarr.
And
that would be scary. Oh my god!
Hey, and I have Colorado going to the Stanley Cup final. This would kind of cement that.
Honestly, I wouldn't think you were as crazy as you were before saying that if they brought in Taylor Hall. Holy!
I think they could pull it off. I mean, it might be a long-term game for the Colorado.
They've got prospects. They've got picks. Like they for sure can pull that off. I think for sure Colorado. They're the second team I have on my list to land them. Like the defense is there. Like. And the first forward line's there. McKinnon only making $6.3 million is absolutely absurd.
Yep.
100% Colorado's a great suitor. That'll push them into Stanley Cup contention.
I think
like
that
if they weren't always there. You think that would make them favorites? If they landed Taylor Hall?
I think
it
so,
might. I think
it might push them a very high way.
I think in the West especially. Like,
I think they're because they're in the West. Yeah,
because they're in the West.
I think the odds would. I think they might have odds wise would be the best if they landed Taylor Hall. That would be insane. Could you imagine a power play? Hall, McKinnon, Rantanen. You have Makar running, and then maybe Nazem Kadri somewhere in there. Oh my god, that is
still
insane.
Gabriel Landeskog too, who would be coming back.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, he's injured. He'd still have to come back.
This team is nuts.
Yeah,
this team is nuts.
It's a scary team. Holy.
You can't say my take's far fetched. This is a gross team. They could easily get
it just threw me off because Colorado's always one of those teams.
Yeah, when you hear it doesn't sound right.
And then you just kind of take a double look at them and you're like, oh, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
I forgot they had Wilson and Burakovsky too.
Yeah. This is a gross team, right? And they could add Taylor Hall to make it even better. And that is a market that could attract. I don't know if they have the cap space because Taylor Hall right now
they can make a move.
They could. I guess they could make space.
And
but
New Jersey could retain salary.
Man,
they definitely do that.
And just one of those look at the contract they have McKinnon on right now. They signed him to what? Just 4 years at a decent price. You still have McKinnon on another 3 or 4 years, at $6 million, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's one of the most insane contracts in the NHL. That's top 2 in the NHL, I think, with Pasternak. Unbelievable contracts. Next one, I think could be a good spot for Taylor Hall. I think Calgary have really lacked scoring this year, and I think they could make enough space to be able to attract a guy like Taylor Hall. If you can move some pieces, fit him in on your second line, maybe even throw him on your first line. Get Sean Monahan producing a little bit more. You can get maybe a bit more of Tkachuk if you want to kind of share the lines with them. But I think Colorado as well. They have some good prospects that they could handle and deal to the Devils and land a guy like Taylor Hall. And I mean that'd be kind of weird if you went to another Alberta team after playing in Edmonton. I don't know how that would go over with Edmonton fans, but I could definitely see him pulling that one off as well.
I think he would just be that spark plug that Calgary needs right now. They really need something to spark that organization back up. Right so. If they can pull that one off and hopefully it would be successful, that'd be big for Calgary. But I mean, it's not always, you don't always see it where it's the top player goes to another team and he's able to produce the same way that he has before or something like that. So
yeah, well, look at the Devils. I mean, they added guys like Subban and Simmons over the offseason. They're one of the worst teams in the NHL right now.
When I saw him sign Simmons, I was like, this is going to be bad. I'm like, I don't know.
Well, the Subban one. The Subban one I thought was like a
Subban was good. I was actually, my one buddy from work, I saw them pulling all these players together and I'm like, yo, you guys could have a scary team next year. Fuck me, am I wrong?
I think everybody would have had them going at least playoffs. This is.
I had them making a lot bigger of a push. To be fair though, I think the question mark was always their goaltending. So but
Corey Schneider is getting paid a lot of money to play in the AHL right
which
now.
Is why they got it's this time for a rebuild, man. They just got to toss away. Hopefully I'm kind of curious what you think their asking price for Taylor Hall is like.
I think it's got to be a first and then maybe a prospect. I feel like that's what it has to be.
I heard somebody say it's going to be 2 firsts and a prospect, which is a
That's
little
insane.
bit scary
That's
considering
insane.
He's on a 1-year contract right now.
This might be a rental. You got to convince him to stay after you pick him up.
You don't give up that much for a rental.
No. I think for a team like Calgary, they would struggle to kind of keep him, where I think Montreal and Colorado could easily keep him for longer and sign him to a contract, whereas Calgary, I don't know if he'd be willing to stay there. So for them, it might be it may be less fruitful to trade up a lot because you're already in a bad position. You may not even make the playoffs. But I think the teams that should be using him should be teams that want to actually push in the playoffs. And Montreal, I think with him would be talented enough to get out of the first round of the playoffs, and then maybe they can cause havoc. Potentially. If they can land that higher wild card spot, maybe they could maybe cause some damage.
Yep.
But the Avalanche, they have to be Stanley Cup favorites if they land him.
That's why, to that point, the one team that I would be very curious and would honestly be very excited to see bring him in. I have him actually as my second favorite to pick him up is the Edmonton Oilers. I think the Edmonton Oilers could go back.
They could. They could do it.
They have the space. They have definitely showed the talent this year. And if you were to just stack up that second line, and honestly, Draisaitl can hop up or down to play with McDavid or Taylor Hall, but just sort of have that just sort of dynamic, offensive team to work with, it'd be scary, man. That'd be a scary team.
And it would take a bit of the weight off of the shoulders of Draisaitl and McDavid.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to see 50% of your goals come from those two guys anymore. It would be
like a bit of share of the load. And I think it would make if whoever he's playing with, it would make them better. Like McDavid, it would make him like that much better. McDavid's already like 49 points.
Imagine how frustrating that would be, having to try and match up to stop McDavid and Draisaitl, and then you're like, Taylor Hall's over there doing his work now. Like, oh, that'd be scary, man.
Yeah, and then you could put one of the Draisaitl or McDavid with James Neal, who's still producing right now, even without playing. Like we thought it would just be with McDavid, but even without McDavid, he's still getting a ton of goals. So put one in the back with James Neal, you could see that improve even further. And Edmonton as well. I'm looking at their roster right now. It's all Draisaitl and McDavid. It's insane. They have 49 and 48 respectively, and then Zach Kassian has 19 points. They are just leaps and bounds above the rest of that roster.
It's scary that the third name that popped up was Zach Kassian.
Yeah, he's got 19 points.
Is it
my goodness.
just on the first line with them?
Yeah, well, it says right now. I guess last game they had. I guess it is him playing with them, and he's got.
He should not be on any team.
He's got 6.
On any team's top 9, honestly. Not on the first line. With
But you got McDavid and Draisaitl with 49-48, and then you got almost 6 points. You just literally make up the numbers. We need 5 on the ice, but just go stand there to draw the attention away.
Just go stand beside the fucking post and just let the puck hit your shit and go in. Like,
get out of their way. Just stay back. Maybe they put him up. He knows his role. Just fucking stand back. Let them play.
I could have 6 points playing with McDavid and Draisaitl.
I think you could have. I think you could just stand by the crease, get a juicy rebound every now and then.
I don't know how to skate, and I think I could have that many points playing beside those guys.
Just touch the puck to McDavid, see if he creates, maybe get a second assist. One of those.
Oh my god.
Yeah, that team could be scary. I mean, we already had them winning the Pacific without Taylor Hall.
Yep.
So, and I think they could be a team that could keep him. Like in free agency, they could be a team that could potentially find a way to get.
It would be scary for them because that'd be a lot of money tied in with 3 players.
That's true.
Yeah. But
they can make a push this year though.
They're probably looking for depth right now. Is like.
Yeah, I guess. You know what? Yeah, that's probably smart. They may go that way.
I think Edmonton, they went for Taylor Hall, it'd be basically purely rental. I don't
just push this season.
I think push this season.
I mean, they're first.
They probably could resign because realistically, they're one of the only teams that put that much money into 2 players, and it's been like your team's gonna be nasty no matter what. And I think they will be for a long time. Well, you see it with Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane that after their little sort of spree of dominating, it's just been bad.
Yeah.
But I don't see that happening with Edmonton. But I think they would be a rental. Montreal would try and keep them. Colorado could try and keep them.
They have the space.
Yeah, they have the space. They could definitely try and do it. And what was the other team that we had in there?
Calgary.
I don't see that one happening.
I don't think Calgary would. I think Calgary would try, but I don't know if so much.
I think other teams would have better offers. I think Calgary would make sense to try to get that spark because they were the first seed last year and they're not even in the playoff spot right now. Get that spark to get into the playoffs, but like Montreal could offer more because they know they can go for it. And Colorado could be like, hey, this is literally a Stanley Cup roster right here with Taylor Hall. My last one that I have, similar to Calgary, the Nashville Predators. I think they're another team that needs that spark to get themselves into the playoff race. I said on one of the other podcasts that they're a second half of the season team.
Yep.
Like they'll push after the All-Star break, and they've got good players like Philip Forsberg, top 2 lines. Like they've got Matt Duchene. I think like if you put Matt Duchene with Taylor Hall, that could be a pretty insane combination. Right now Duchene's playing with Granlund, so those 3 on the second line could be insane coming off of Philip Forsberg and Ryan Johansson on the first line. Yeah. And their defense is crazy. Like Roman Josi right now is unreal.
That guy's insane.
They need Pekka Rinne to start playing a little bit better if they want to get themselves like pushing deep in the playoffs. But I think he's talented enough where that can happen. I think they could push for Taylor Hall as well.
Nashville's too good to not make a push.
Yeah.
They're too good of a team to not do.
And like they've been in and about like Stanley Cup contention the last few years, hasn't happened. Maybe like one last little push with like they've still got this core together. But, like, again, Montreal and Colorado are favorites for me to sign or to land Taylor Hall in a trade. I don't know if you guys have any other suitors, but
do you have
mine?
I think those are all the suitors. I think Nashville is one that you kind of caught me off guard with, but it does make sense because Imagine just seeing him slide in where so right now their second line is Daniel Carr, Matt Duchene, and
that's what I mean.
Mikael Granlund.
Yeah.
And if he just slides in on that left wing, that'd be scary.
That's
man.
what I mean. I think he fits in really well there.
That is a good line for him, man. If you think he's gonna drop at any team, like you're taking your guess right now, what team is he gonna end up at?
I feel like Montreal are gonna be like the biggest pushers for him. I feel like they're gonna give the most to get him. Like they need him to be competitive, and they know that clock's ticking on their ability to be competitive with the team they have.
I think Montreal's a good option, but I think it's gonna be Colorado. They got the pieces, they got the space, and I mean they should be able to make a good run with him. But the cost might be a little bit high if Montreal's also bidding. But
That's me. I feel like Montreal, like they haven't made the smartest moves in the past. I feel they could go balls to the wall to go out and get him. You know what I mean?
They
like,
can.
They will make sure that they are the ones that get
I think it's
him.
just one of those things. I think the only player off the boards from Montreal is Cole Caulfield, but other than that, they'll give up anybody. And I think their first round pick is more valuable than Colorado's because I think if you are New Jersey Devils and you're like, if we trade Taylor Hall to Colorado, that pick might end up being this 32nd pick.
I feel
in
like
the first
though.
round.
I feel like Colorado could trade Brian Bowen as well as the
that
first,
is
which is a
that's
very
a
intriguing
very-
offer
Yeah.
for New Jersey's sake. Like, because that's gonna be a bad first round pick, like you said. But Brian Bowen went 4th overall in the last round.
Yep.
That could be. I think that's a good package that would suit both teams very well. That's interesting to me.
I think it's gonna be a prospect to first, and maybe just another guy that kind of fills up some
Sweetener deal.
Yeah, I think. But my guess is gonna be Montreal. But I think
Yeah?
that's a little bit of a. A
homer pick?
A homer pick. I really want that to
Praying
happen.
every night. Every night you're praying.
When I first heard that Montreal was in on Taylor Hall, I was like, oh my god, please. Like, I just keep on looking at my score app every day, and I'm like, please, just tell me Taylor Hall got traded to Montreal Canadiens.
you know what? I think it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Colorado to push too much chips in. Just
That's because they already got
they're
the
gonna be
roster.
good. They're gonna be good
And
for
they
so
got
long
a young
too.
core. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe Montreal. Yeah.
I think Montreal's
I think
a more
Montreal,
desperate team, so
yeah.
Montreal will probably give up the
That's
most.
what I mean.
Yeah, that's why.
But Brian Bowen and a first seems like a really good package for Colorado to offer. That's why I think that it could be them. But
It's possible.
again, I said Montreal. But if he does go to free agency, hypothetically, who do you think is favorites to land him in free agency?
I think it's one. I think if Montreal picks him up, I think Montreal keeps him. If not, I don't know. That's gonna be scary.
I just kind of thought of that question. I don't really know. I don't really have an answer right
I
now.
don't.
What?
Yeah, it's nice.
LA Kings.
No.
The LA Kings. The Ottawa Senators.
Ottawa
fans.
Well, it's been time. Like when's the last big free agent pickup they've had?
Nobody wants to play there.
Exactly,
Who
man.
wants to go to Ottawa right
they're
now?
not. They don't put up the money. That's why they don't have anymore.
I mean,
If Malik leaves, maybe.
hashtag Melnick out.
What's the Islanders situation? They have money?
I'm not 100% sure. That'd be scary.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
they've got a lot of like pieces that.
That would be
just
another
work.
team, actually. Now you
What,
said it. Imagine
Sabres?
if Islanders
Yeah,
picked him up.
actually,
If the-
you're
'cause the
right. You're
Islanders-
right.
If you put Taylor Hall beside Matthew Barzal, that would be scary. That would be very scary. And they're one of those teams that, like, I mean, the way Clarkson talked about it in our earlier
Yeah, I remember him
pod-
just like in awe.
just
like,
in
what
awe.
the
He's
fuck?
just like, what the fuck are the Islanders doing so well that they're able to perform like consistently? That'd be an interesting team that he could go to as well. Holy shit!
Hang on. Let me look up the New York Islanders. Let me see if they could manage to pull this off.
Actually, oh wow, look at that. Yeah, they're secondly spent.
So they have money.
Yeah,
Exactly. They could pull this off.
Dude, look at Colorado. They're third. They have the third
Colorado,
most- they
yeah,
have the third
Colorado's
most
got space.
Yeah.
That's scary. That's scary.
Yeah. Looking at the Islanders right now, they could pull this off. Yeah.
I think the Islanders would be a good team to push for it too.
And they've got a lot of like those decent pieces that you can add into the trade, like maybe not prospects. Like,
well, they have
can
guys that
push.
you can kind of like trade and like.
That's what I mean.
Like actually like.
More
trade.
depth
I don't know
guys.
why I just said that.
More
Like yes,
depth
trade,
guys.
but like just one of those guys. Yeah, exactly. They have more depth pieces that they can give away and be happy with bringing in
Yeah.
Taylor Hall and pieces that like will do something for New Jersey right away, even though New Jersey may not want it, but like just in the near future. Because
Yeah.
I don't think New Jersey has like a horrible problem. I think it's just as soon as you fix goaltending, something's gonna get better.
Corey
today.
Schneider, Jesus.
Fuck,
That's
he's
ugly.
so bad.
That's ugly. I mean, the problem with the Islanders, the only problem I can see, sometimes when a team is like, just like punching above their weight with like lesser talent players, because nobody thought the Islanders would be this good, right?
Nope.
But when you break that mesh that they have by adding in a star, sometimes that completely throws everything off, though. That's the only thing I'd be kind of worried about here. I mean, maybe that's not the case, but it's in the back of my mind that could happen.
I feel like Taylor Hall's a little bit of an ego player too. Like he's gonna walk in and be like, "Yo, I'm the fucking best player."
Yeah,
on this
he
team."
is.
Yeah.
He is that guy.
Yeah.
So
well,
that's.
I mean, he's gross.
Yeah, I know he is gross, but sometimes
within is right,
somebody new
but
like
that's what I
that
mean,
into
like
the system.
These guys are thriving off of kind of like the Golden Knights a few years ago, thriving off of being underdogs, but like dogged work rates on the ice, like going hard always. But a guy Taylor Hall could try to throw off that entire dynamic. That's the only worry for me in this situation. Islanders are a suitor, but it's Colorado, Montreal. I think we're all three of us in agreement. Those are the two that
I think those are the two that are probably gonna
land him, and those two I think could end up keeping him as well. Like Colorado's got really good cap space right now, but
it's gonna be Montreal.
Yeah. We'll see how it pans out. Maybe we'll do an update like in the future if he does get traded and see how that team's doing with him if we were right. But that'll end this episode. Thank you for being on the episode once again, guys. More hockey content coming very soon. Daily content as always.